Thanks.
All right, I guess we can start. Hi, this is Greg Smalley with 366 Weird Movies, and I'm here today with Albert Birney, who is the co-writer and co-director of the new movie Strawberry Mansion, now out on video on demand, also probably still in some theaters. And down below him on my screen is Kentucker Audley, who is also the co-writer, co-director, and also stars as James Preble in the movie. This is a movie I saw at Fantasia, and it's one of two movies at the Fantasia Festival this year that we particularly recommended to our readers who are interested in weird movies. And the other one was Mad God, which is a very dark stop motion animated descent into hell. And your movie couldn't be any more different because it's very light, whimsical, audience pleasing, and it's a comedy. It's a romance. It's a little bit of an adventure, and it's mostly a dream movie. And so we really liked it. But to start out, let's get some context. I'm wondering how you two guys met and then how you decided to collaborate on this project.
Yeah, so we met at a film festival, the Maryland Film Festival, probably 10 years ago. So our relationship is entirely founded in the love of movies, and so we got to know each other over the course of those first couple of years and found it a kindred spirit in one another, and we're the same age. We kind of have a similar taste, movies that we're sort of obsessed with throughout our lives, and we're just compatible as friends. And then we started to turn our eyes to maybe collaborating, because that's a great way to be able to spend a lot of time with people, and we like to be around each other. So we started cooking up projects.
Yeah, I think we both were a little bit jealous of brother directing teams. You always hear a lot about these brothers who just have been collaborating since they were 10 years old or 8 years old. And I think when we met each other, it's like, oh, okay, this is like a long lost brother that let's make our own brother directing duo now.
Right. Okay, that's cool. And so obviously it starts out with the script. How do you guys start out collaborating on the script? Do you one of you come up with the idea, the other one bounce ideas off each other, or how's it what's the process like?
Yeah, well, this one I had a very rough script that I had written like 15 years ago, and it kind of just sat collecting dust for a long time. And after we successfully made Silvio together, we kind of just I said, what about trying to make Strawberry Mansion? And we opened it back up and worked through it, and we're stuck for a couple months, and then got unstuck, and then worked on it some more. And yeah, it just kind of, I think we just keep going back and forth with it and writing together, and it just kind of comes together. The new project we're working on is probably the most collaborative one we've done yet, where it's really from the inception, kind of all forming in unison, the two of us, bringing ideas and fleshing them out and kind of reworking things in real time. Silvio was also just like this character I had in making these 6-second Vine videos. So it was already kind of an established character that then we worked on the script together. But this new one, yeah, I feel like is going to be a true, just coming together and seeing what we have together.
Yeah, it was like if, on a physical level, we just sort of like Albert said, for Strawberry Mansion, he had a version of the script that he sent me, and then we would just refine it. We went through a script writing class together to hone in on some of the core elements that were being sort of like lost in a lot of the fantasy sequences, and just try to really get to the heart of what the film was about, while also allowing some room to just flow and to be dreamy and not necessarily coherent in every moment. But yeah, it's just that it really is just kind of a back and forth of I'll write a scene, send it to him. He'll, have some ideas and back and forth. So it's been different for each project, but I think we're kind of finding a process that works for us, which is, basically we live in different places. So we basically just meet on video chat every day and kind of just have a document open that we're both editing at the same time and go from there.
Well, I do have to say, it seems like a product, a very unified piece of work. It doesn't seem at all like there are two separate voices speaking. It seems like one voice. So I thought you guys make a good writing team. Now, when we get to directing, how are you going to divide up the responsibilities on set? I'm guessing that when Kentucker's in front of the camera acting, that Albert's directing, perhaps?
Yeah. Although, like, even when Kentucker's in front of the camera, he's still directing in a way because he's working with the actors and himself. I think we talk a lot before every scene and plan it out and rehearse if we can. But yeah, I think we're both just pretty easygoing, and we have similar enough like visions that it's never been an issue of like who's going to yell action or who's going to get loud if we need to get loud. But yeah, I guess just in terms of like kind of our two unique styles, like I come from a little bit more of like an animation and tactile background with filmmaking and like prop making and paper mache, making like surreal kind of experimental films, and then Kentucker's coming at it from a little bit more of films with characters who are talking and having conversations, and so I think we just put both of those together, and that becomes our shared films. Like if I made Strawberry Mansion without Kentucker, it'd be like twice as long with half the dialogue, and it would just be like unbearable. So I think we need each other to make these films. We really feel lucky that we found our collaborator who we can work this way together.
Who that description reminds me kind of is the work of Junet and Caro.
Mm-hmm.
Junet was more the narrative guy, and Caro was the visual guy, the sets and so forth. So it blends really well, I've got to say. Like I say, I don't think if you didn't tell somebody that this was the work of co-directors, I think people would assume it was just a single auteur there. So a bit of trivia that I just have to answer because I'm so curious about it. Strawberry Mansion is a neighborhood in Philadelphia. How did it become the title of the movie? Because it's not set in Philadelphia as far as I can see.
Yeah. It's one of those things that the title was there from the beginning, 15 years ago. And it's hard to even remember exactly where it came from. It was like, I think I was sitting around with some friends telling them about this idea and started talking about this like pink house that looked like a strawberry. And my memory of it is just kind of like came out of the air. At the end of the evening, it was there. And then later I learned about this, neighborhood, and it was like, oh, that's interesting. And we had talked about changing the title over the years many times, and every time we tried another title, it just didn't quite feel right. You get used to the way that words sound and are attached to your project. And I think for about 2 days we were going with Strawberry Dream, and it just didn't quite roll off the tongue in the same way.
Yeah. It's an effective title. So now on to some more substantive things. So you're going to write a movie about dreams. So I'm wondering, you're starting out with the movie is about specifically, explicitly about dreams. What is your strategy there? Because a lot of times I think the temptation would be to be playing around with the idea, well, are we in a dream right now, or are we in reality? But watching the movie, for the most part, with maybe one exception, I was never confused about whether we were in a dream or in the movie's reality. Did you guys intend to play with that ambiguity, or what was your idea in terms of handling dreams as the main story element?
Yeah, I mean I'm curious what the moment was, if you can remember.
Well, I guess we could go into it right now. It's actually the very first scene, or the
Yeah.
very beginning of the scene.
Yeah.
There is sort of a flash forward where Preble sees some creatures that it turns out were
Yeah.
seen later.
Mhm.
Yeah. And in the parking lot, I see. Yeah. Yeah. Well, that was the moment of like of the first interaction between the dream world and the Preble's reality, trying to sort of like just hint at the mixing of the worlds that is to come, little foreshadowing. But yeah, I think that well, initially I'll say that I kind of think of the whole film as a dream, even from the beginning. I think it's just so tempting to play with this dream logic, and this sort of something's little off from natural. And since it's set in this ambiguous future time, like I think it lends itself to this feeling of something is unnatural about this, and whether that's the future or whether it's a dream. um uh I like the idea that it could be considered a dream from the beginning, but yeah, beyond that, I don't know. I didn't think too much about the separation. Albert, you have much to say about that?
Well, I guess just like, you, Greg, saying that you felt like you knew what was dream and what was reality throughout it. I think you have this like the playground of this idea that you could do anything. It could all be a dream. It could like keep being fake outs and all this stuff. But I think we really wanted to like within the idea of this surreal dreamscape, make sure people kind of knew where they were in a way, like wouldn't lose their footing too much. Um, like as long as we stayed to this kind of like backbone, we could try crazy things. But to me, sometimes a movie will lose me if it goes too far. If I'm too confused about where am I in this story or what's happening with the characters. And we wanted to make that the character of Preble and Bella like the central kind of their romance that kind of starts to blossom halfway through the movie, like the central through line. And so within that, like there's moments where we come back to reality and then we're back in dream. But I think you don't want to like feel like we've yanked the floor out from under you and you're free falling and you kind of are totally lost. So that's what I got to say about that.
Yeah, and I did also consider the idea that the whole movie is a dream. It's open to interpretation, of course. I like to consider it as sort of a movie that's set in an alternate reality that's very absurdist, and we haven't even talked about the sort of the central conceit that kicks off the plot, which is everything in the future, this future world could be a little believable, except for the basic idea that the movie is set around dream auditing, that you're taxed on your dreams, which is just a crazy idea, because the idea is that somebody will dream, say, of a sunflower, and then they'll be assessed a 15-cent tax. But where's that come from? I mean, the dreams are coming from your own subconscious. So the entire idea is crazy. And how did was that the core that started the script?
Yeah, I think it was pretty early on that it was there. I think where to come from, I guess just the fact that our dreams are still they're like the last frontier of what we can keep to ourselves, or where we can, feel like we're free in some way. And when this was first conceived, it still felt like that was kind of a little bit sci-fi. But as the years have kind of clicked away here, it seeming less and less strange or more like believable that there's somebody watching. Like right now, my phone's listening to me and it's giving me ads based on what I'm talking about. If I mention a certain brand, then I've seen this happen so many times where then that brand will start showing up, in these ads, and it's like it's happening too often to be a coincidence anymore.
Oh, yeah.
So, and that's just terrifying. This is just the world we live in, and it's a terrifying idea that someday, maybe not too far in the future, 13 years in the future, the movie takes place, that dreams will be recorded and taxed, and it's almost like a horror movie concept that we maybe treat, not. It's never been the most. It's like it's like a fun spot to jump off of. It's like a fun concept or idea. Like your dreams are recorded and taxed, but we don't really go into the details too much, or like why does a sunflower cost this much, or why does a hot air balloon cost that much of your taxes. It's more of just like a jumping off point to get to like, the adventure and the emotion that hopefully comes through with the characters and their interactions.
Okay. Well, now I think that covers a lot of that, but that does get us into the sort of the satirical element. There is a satirical element in the movie, and I think that comes from the advertising that's inserted into dreams, and where the idea of dream taxation doesn't seem that realistic to me. The idea of dream advertising seems like something, if they can do that, they are going to do that. There's no doubt.
Yeah.
And
yeah, they already do it. Like there was the Super Bowl ad last year that you were supposed, like that promoted this idea of watching this Coors Light video for 10 hours, and then you were supposed to be able to, if you watched this video, you were supposed to be able to dream about Coors Light that night. But yeah, so yeah. What was the question though? Sorry.
Just the satirical element.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Advertising specifically.
Yeah, well, it uses the world that we're already in and just kind of exaggerates a little bit. But it does feel like, we are being bombarded from all angles, in the way that we're marketed to, and the products and food items and drinks that we're sort of that are unescapable and that we don't need, and that are all around us at all times, and we don't, to the point we don't even really think about it, like how much we're being advertised to and marketed to and bombarded, and it's like we just let it the only way that we can function within this is just to kind of like let it go blank, and like there's there's just like there's only so much a human brain can deal with, like being targeted in that way. But yeah, so again it was a jumping off point. We use it as like the central premise that we kind of has like a satirical foundation, but it's also like it also is just sort of the situation we find ourselves in, and it's not necessarily like we're making a giant point about how evil it is. It's just sort of like the world the world as it's become, and yeah, it's just something that the characters have to reckon with and exist within.
Yeah. Sadly, that is just a reflection of the world we're in, isn't it?
Yeah.
So quickly, let's try to. I want to discuss the various special effects that you use, because obviously this is an indie movie made on a budget, but you've taken some effects that are, very affordable and used them to create some dream landscapes. This would be more, I guess, Albert's side of it. Particularly used a little bit of stop motion animation, which is unusual, and I think now is probably more expensive than like CGI, wouldn't it be?
Well, yeah, that's interesting. I think it depends. I think we didn't use it. There's like maybe 4 different shots that we use stop motion, so it's all pretty manageable. And we were working with one stop motion artist, Lawrence Becker, who is kind of just a brilliant animator. Met him back on Vine. Actually, he did these really amazing stop motion 6-second videos, and always wanted to work together on a bigger project. And we actually asked him to do something for Silvio, and it kind of just didn't work out with like the timing. And we realized, oh, we actually don't even need this stop motion here. But with Strawberry Mansion, it was like, oh, this is going to be an important part of the story if we can get these, handmade stop motion special effects in there. And it was, I think when we started out, we didn't really know which effects would be stop motion, which ones would be a little bit of CGI, which ones would be, miniatures, which ones would be green screen. But as we kind of started to film and you looked at kind of what we were getting, we kind of said, okay, this part could be stop motion, this part could be, a mask, and this would be green screen. And just very organically kind of figured out how to solve all the problems with the budget that we had left for special effects. And a big part of it too is just like working with a lot of really talented friends of ours and collaborators who knew that we were making indie movies, so we don't have like huge multi-million-dollar budgets or anything. So they were, I think, just excited to do, Lawrence was excited to do these 4 shots for us. And he's been working on a lot of commercials and music videos and smaller scale projects. So for him, it was exciting, to get his animation in a feature film. So I think it was just about trying to find like collaborators who understood that we were making a small fantasy indie movie and were like totally on board to play with us in that world.
Yeah, the costumes are very well done. I thought the entire thing sort of visually reminds me more than anybody of Michel Gondry. Was that an influence?
Yeah, but I feel like it goes back further than him. I think sort of like our influences are similar from the influences he made. I mean, you could go all the way back to A Trip to the Moon to one of the first movies ever to like kind of see some of the effects that we use and some of the the practical nature of like the costumes and the mask and the simple camera trickery. And I think it goes way back to the beginnings of cinema. But yeah, Michel Gondry is definitely a recent example of somebody that we love, how playful and handmade his films feel.
Yeah, especially his music videos. I think saw those at a time, but this is before he was even making his features. But the music videos, seeing them on MTV, kind of butted up against like other music videos that just didn't have any of the imagination or DIY handcrafted feel that his videos did. Was definitely an inspiration. Just seeing like, oh, look at these other ways that you can make things, and then there was a DVD set, I think, that came out like in the early mid 2000s of all his music videos. I remember I worked at a video rental store and I just would put that on and kind of play it in the background, just because someone comes in to rent a video and for 2 or 3 minutes you see these really bright colors and amazing visuals. And so yeah, he's in there. I mean, there's so many filmmakers that we grew up watching, and I think we just at some point it's like you're not consciously saying like we're gonna do a Michel Gondry homage. It's more of just like all of these influences, you kind of cipher them through your own sensibilities, and the two of us then put them together from ourselves, and we add our collaborators, and hopefully by the end there's like little seeds of maybe these other artists that have come before, but the hope is that you put it together and it becomes your own kind of unique thing at the end of the day.
And I think it did. So we are running a little short of time. We're not right up against the wall, but I've got probably just two more questions maybe. Real quickly, I thought I'd ask you guys if had anything you were working on right now that you wanted people to know about, or what's coming up next.
Yeah, we're working on a new project called Super Delights. That's like we think of as the culmination of a trilogy that started with our previous film, all S titles, and it continues in the evolution of like characters who would feel at odds with the world that they find themselves in, and are trying to escape in some way. And similar themes of Starter Mansion and some different ones like identity and branding and you know, and fulfillment, life fulfillment. So yeah, that's what we're working on now.
Okay, Albert, anything to add or?
Oh yeah, you know, just kind of taking what Kentucker said, just going bigger. Where the movie starts with two characters this time instead of one. You know, Star Mansion is Preble, and this one has two main characters, so we feel like that's a step in the right direction. You know, we want to just more masks, more effects, more everything. Put it all together and hope that our final S film in the trilogy is a nice send off before we get a new letter for our fourth film.
All right. Well, we do have one traditional question that we ask every interviewer interviewee at the end of our interviews, which is we ask you your hometown and if you can recommend a restaurant there. So putting you on the spot right now, but
Yeah. So my hometown is Baltimore, and that's where I am. And I love Johnny's restaurant. Actually got a reservation there tonight at 7 p.m. And they got a great cauliflower, like spicy cauliflower bites. When you're in Baltimore, go to Johnny's.
all right.
Yeah, I was born in St. Louis, but I grew up in Lexington, Kentucky, and I don't think this place is even around anymore. Maybe it wasn't open. Maybe it was for COVID when I was there last, but it's called Alfalfa. Really nice, just sort of like vegetarian friendly kind of you know, hippie place that I like to go to when I went back into town.
All right. Well, I'm in Louisville, so if I sometimes go to Lexington, I'll look and see if it's open there.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, I was wondering where you were. That's you got a little. Is that like a back patio there, or what is it? Oh, is that just the corner of your house?
Oh yeah, that's just the blinds. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, guys. It's great to see you, and I really do recommend that all our viewers are going to want to see Strawberry Mansion, except for those ones who just like only dark stuff, which there's a few of those. But
Yeah, well, you got Mad God is the one if you like the dark stuff, and if you like a little bit of the light, come on over to the mansion.
that's right, and I think that would be probably the perfect place to end it. So thanks, guys. It was a real treat.
All right, thanks,
Thank
Greg.
you, Greg.
All right.
All right.
Take care.